Hi, good afternoon. Happy summer, and welcome to Aspects of Energy. I'm Elaine Brewster, and today we have Mary Schneider with us. Mary is a reverend. She has practiced and does practice resonance repatterning, which was created by Chloe Wadsworth. In fact, your site is repatternit.com. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, repatternit.com. When we were down in Mexico for work that we did for my husband, and this will be coming out in the book about him in a couple of months. This is one of the techniques, and it's amazing to me because it's not a technique. It involves many, many techniques, and I'm just so excited to have Mary here, and we would love to, help. We would love you to help us understand more about resonance repatterning, Mary.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm thrilled to be here. And really, resonance repatterning is a system. It's a healing system that encompasses a whole lot of modalities. And we use color, light, sound, music, the Chinese 5-element acupuncture system, the Ayurvedic chakra system. We use cranial, sacral. We're trained in all these modalities to find the particular combination of them that changes people's frequencies and raises their vibration and changes their lives. So really simplistically, resonance repatterning is a way to use people's frequencies to optimize their frequencies, actually, to change their lives. And it works. And it works really well. It works really, it's not painful. Doesn't require a whole lot of homework or stuff you have to do at home. Now there are things that you can give, modalities and things that you can give people for homework, but they don't come up a lot in my sessions because I'm not predisposed to homework. It may be that I did enough when I was in school, but those kinds of things are they're just unbelievable. For instance, I had a client in Dallas who I do these sessions by proxy too, not nearly as often, but I had a woman in Dallas send me a check and ask me, I really need this session and I need it now. And so I'm sending you this money. And she had a particular issue, and I went to the office and I worked on it. And it turned out that particular issue was, it had a lot to do with her father. So, of course. So I got to the end of it, and it did say she had homework, right? So there's lists and lists and lists of all these things that you can do. I mean, there's just everything from eating root vegetables to hanging out by a lake to just a million things that you can do to move your energy or continue the healing. And I kept getting that what she needed was to listen to a CD of bird calls. And all right, I had not been doing this very long, and I wasn't really up to telling this person that I'd never met that she had to listen to a CD of bird calls, right? But I thought, well, I have to trust the process. And so I called her up and I went over the repatterning with her, and she was thrilled. She had no idea that the issue that she was working on had to do with her father. And it was almost a direct connection, but it was totally subconscious. And so I got to the end of it and I said, well, I do have one more thing I need to tell you. I have homework for you. And she was like, oh, she felt so great. Oh, okay. Right. I said, you have to listen to a CD of bird calls. And she goes, oh, okay. Like, I said, I got to ask you, why are you not thinking that that's weird? Right. And she told me this story about her father, who she dearly loved. And he had always wanted to be an ornithologist, but he got accepted into one of the Ivy League schools. I can't remember if it was Harvard or Yale or whatever, and they didn't have an ornithology department. And so instead, he got a PhD in biology. And every summer in her childhood, she and her family would travel to all the natural parks and listen to bird calls. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how profound the work is all the time. And she was so happy. She just really, it created an even deeper connection to her and her father, so.
All right. So we are wondering, we understand that, that energy, I think we understand that energy is movement, and energy is vibrations, vibrations is movement. And so, as you mentioned, if you change the movement, then you change the outcome. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But I think we are wondering in our own lives a little bit more about how relationships with people, like maybe our parents, who I think all of us are older. And so our parents, I'm pretty sure, are dead and gone. How those relationships can still be filtering in our lives and our bodies this very day, and how those things can be changed.
Yes. Well, energy, we're energy. Energy is light. Light travels at 186,000 miles per second. That's how, theoretically, how fast we can heal. Right. Yeah. And right. And resonance repatterning is fast. It's very fast. I frequently have people coming in and I say, oh, this repatterning is going to be about your father. And they're like, it can't be about my father. I've been working on my father for 50 years, And a lot of the stuff that happens to us is because we have entrained to our parents. And there is a law, it's a natural law. It's called the law of entrainment. And it says that we entrain to the frequencies of the people around us, right? And there was a Swiss physicist who did an experiment with the law of entrainment, and he put 25 clocks up on a wall, pendulum clocks, all different, swinging all different rhythms, all different times, all different sizes. And so guess how long it took them to all be swinging together?
An hour?
Yes, an hour. Wow. So you think about orbiting around an angry alcoholic parent for 18 years, and you have really entrained to some interesting things, or you go in for a session under those circumstances and they say, we're going to work on your anger today. And they'll be like, I'm not angry. Right. So the law of entrainment is responsible for us picking up a lot of things from our parents. And then there's the generational stuff that we work with all the time, where, you'll see a father leaves the mother when she's 35, and the grandmother has left the grandfather has left the grandmother when she was 35. I mean, those things happen all the time. And it goes way back, sometimes 6, 7, 8 generations. And that's the same with beliefs. What you believe is what creates your world, right? So if you believe that you're going to be Diana Ross, you will be, right? And if you believe that you're unlovable, then you'll attract people that don't love you, or you don't love, or neither one of you love each other. And you'll have trouble with your kids and the loving relationship. All of that comes from that one belief, which is very profound and very common and occurs in all kinds of situations. So I think I'm answering your question here, but when you look at all of the things that can enter into these relationships and the relationship with ourselves and all of the things that occur from that, it's a wonder we're standing upright sometimes.
That's true.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, partially. I'm hoping that everybody will have some questions today that you can ask Mary.
Okay.
Ask them out loud or put them in the chat, raise your hand, whatever you'd like. I think you mentioned that Reiki is one of the methods that you use. Is that?
No, we don't. We
You
don't
don't
use
use
Reiki. Yeah. Reiki, I don't know. You have to do a whole separate training to be in Reiki, Most of the stuff that we do, we use acupuncture, but you don't have to be in a training to use that. And we don't use needles. We use tuning forks.
Oh.
We put the tuning forks on the acupuncture points.
Well, each of those points has a different pitch, correct?
Yeah. I mean, it just depends. We just muscle check through the forks themselves. And then the one that we're supposed to use the muscle checking will stop on. We'll pick it for us.
Okay.
So we're really hooked into your energy system, and your energy system tells me where to go in the resonance repatterning system.
There's a man that we had on this program about a month ago, and he has a machine that takes pictures of, and it generates different. It shows you what frequency the body is working at right then, so he can see whether the frequency is low or whether it's high. What do you do in resonance repatterning? You indicated that your sessions are usually an hour and a half to 2 hours. How can you tell that something is working?
Because a muscle check will be positive. Always, when I've hooked into their system and we go back before we let the client go. We go over the whole session and we check every single thing that comes up and make sure that it has been switched. Okay. So yeah, so if the belief comes up, I am unlovable, then we go back and check and we make sure that that's off, that they no longer resonate with that.
Okay.
And so we don't have to know a frequency per se.
Right.
Right. We just know that when we're done, they will have raised their vibratory frequency up, right? Because it basically, when you have an issue, the way we look at it, when you have an issue, you actually spiral up out of it, right? Into the frequency, you reach the frequency where the issue is gone. And so it's not a linear process. It doesn't, and so you may have one session and you get up and around the first bridge of the spiral, and then it dips down again and it can pick stuff up. Mm-hmm. People have healing crises, and, we're always there to work them through it. But, I've had people, they've had a session. It's one woman had a session. And she really cleared a lot of anger. Oh gosh, it was amazing. And so she called me up the next day and she goes, "What the hell did you do to me? I want to kill everybody I see." I said, "Oh, that's wonderful." And she goes, "Are you out of your mind?" yeah, she just really let go of a lot of old anger in that first session that she was in. And
And so
what's
you
nice,
feel very different.
most people say they feel lighter, and they are, because that kind of stuff, anger and depression and resentment and those kinds of things, they're heavy. And that's how that, as people raise their vibration, something, they get high enough where something, a belief like, I'm not worthy of love, I don't deserve to be loved, at a certain level of vibratory frequency, that cannot hold anymore. And it just falls away. And that's what a lot of people say about resonance repatterning. They just, and I have people on film, on tape saying this, they just say, it's just gone. It's not there anymore. They'll come in, have having an issue with one of their coworkers, and we repattern them. They go back to work the next day, gone. And that happened to me. I was having an issue with one of the guys on my floor at the office. And I went in on Saturday and did a conflict resolution repatterning on it. I came back on Monday morning. He came down the hall. His arms were outstretched and he said, "Mary." And for the next 18 years, we never had even a remotely any kind of a problem.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like that, it's fast.
Okay, here's a collateral question then. When someone comes to you, how do you decide what to start with that day?
What I do when they come in the office, I ask them who sent them, because it's usually some kind of referral. And why did they send you? Why are you here? And they tell me. And as they're telling me, I'm muscle checking through all these repatternings, lists and lists and lists, and it stops on the repatterning that they need, right? And it's always perfect. Always perfect. And I've been doing this a long time, okay? 21 years, 25, actually, 25. And it's always that way. And I don't know, I'll tell you guys this one, you can ask me any questions you want. I'll just tell you this story. And if you want more stories, I got tons of them. But I worked with this family. And for a long, long time, that was my main demographic, the main group of people that I wanted to work with. I just loved it, right? I loved working with the parents. I loved helping them become more compassionate with their children and, just all kinds of things. So I worked with this family for a long time. And they decided to go on vacation. There were 5 of them. And when they got back, the mother called me up and she goes, "You are not going to believe what happened to us on vacation." And I said, "What?" And she goes, "We had a blast. Everybody wanted to take the same lessons. Everybody wanted to eat the same food. Everybody wanted to watch the same TV shows." She said, "We were completely entrained as a family." And what was really interesting about it was they went with 2 other families that didn't do this work, and they were all griping, having a hard time figuring out what they wanted to do. And it was just, I just can't. How do you put a price on that?
Yeah.
That's priceless, right? I grew up with 5 kids. We never went anywhere. But they were just happy. And basically I think the fundamental aspect of this is that when you have trauma, okay, it comes into your brain and it makes a path in your brain. All right. And so after that trauma, whenever something happens that even remotely reminds you of that trauma. It triggers it. And so now you're not dealing with the current trauma from the present. You're also dealing with the current or the old trauma from the past, right? And when you can deal with trauma or problems in the present, that's empowerment. But if you're being bombarded with all this stuff from your past, it's really upsetting. And so what we do, what we do is we go in and we close that pathway and we open up a new one. And that new pathway has beautiful, positive emotions associated with it and positive beliefs and, a whole different way of looking at an issue. And that's essentially what we do. It's almost like you could call it brain repatterning. But I mean, if I had a business called Repattern It, doing resonance repatterning for almost 21 years, I would change it to brain repatterning.
Because that's what it is.
Really? Yeah.
So talking about the brain then, how would you say that resonance repatterning is different than going in for a counseling session?
I don't know well, I just know that the people come in all the time. The woman who did my documentary, first time she came in, she said, I don't know how this happened. This is why she did it. It was like I had just been through 5 counseling sessions. So it's fast. And we get to the issue. There were some psychiatrists that were helping Chloe kind of define this. And they told her that we had gotten to core issues of clients in 15 minutes that they hadn't accessed in 5 years.
I believe it.
It's true. It just is true. Now, it's not every time and it's not for everyone, but yeah, it happens a lot. And yeah, I mean, if people call me up and they say, I had this one client, I can talk about him pretty extensively because bless his heart, he's gone now, but he used to come, he was a psychologist, and he would take every December off. And so when he came back in January, his practice would be slower, and he'd come to me and we'd repattern his business. And this is his, like this, the next couple days, just like that, straight up. So yeah, it's, I have a client who I worked with for, I don't know, 10 or 12 years, and he's a precious person. He said that, of course, resonance repatterning had really helped him with his, you are gone, is that okay? There you are. Really helped him with his relationships with his wife and everything. But what it really helped him with was his business. That, when he had an issue going on, he couldn't get a sale, or he was, dealing with a difficult customer or coworker, he would call and get a session, and every time, just instantaneous results.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Could you wrote something really beautiful about light, and and about how every culture loves light and uses light. Can you tell us a little bit about light in terms of repatterning?
Yes. What we're all trying to do is enlighten ourselves, right? And so people say to me all the time, well, how come I can't have just one session and everything go away? And I go, well, I guess God knows how much light can be released, or how much dark or whatever it is can be released and replaced with light at any given point in time. And I guarantee you, if they let you have the full amount of light that you can hold, you would be an ash on my floor. But yes, we're trying to, people say at the end of sessions, they say, oh, I feel so much lighter. And I tell them, I say, you are, you just, you're, when you lose and release whatever that is, there's a vacuum there, and nature abhors the vacuum, and it is immediately filled with love and white light. So every time you do something like this, and it's not resonance repatterning, anything that helps you release old patterns and old limiting belief systems, anytime you do that, there is going to be a vacuum there, and God will go, oh, there's one, fill it up. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Love and white light. Yes. And so not only have you contributed to the amount of love and white light in your system, you have just contributed to the amount of love and white light on the planet.
Mm.
So when you heal yourself, you help the planet.
That's nice.
It's lovely. Yeah. I had a spiritual teacher one time. Tell me, when you heal yourself, you take 10 people with you. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know if that's true, but why not? I know that you're contributing to, and the yogis and the great saints in India and stuff, they always talk about, if you become enlightened, it is the best thing you can go out and be an activist. You can do all kinds of things, but if you become enlightened, it's the best thing you can do for everyone else. Yeah.
I'm looking at the people on my gallery here, and we're all older. And I suspect that many of these people were raised like I was, which is sort of with the desire to not be selfish, with the desire to not put attention on yourself. And so that idea of healing ourselves, it's a wonderful thought to think that as we do that, we're bringing other people with us.
Absolutely. Yeah. And a lot of the time, we were taught that we had to be giving and could never say no. And basically we were taught without any kind of boundaries.
Yeah.
And I teach people boundaries all the time, a lot. I teach people to say no, right? Lots of repatternings on those things. I tell them, you stand in front of the mirror and you take the tip of your tongue and you put it behind your 2 front teeth and you go, and then you put your tongue or your mouth in an O and you go, oh, and you put them together. No.
No.
Practice it.
Oh. All right. Your site is repatternit.com, right?
That's correct.
Okay, it's
Yes.
Mary Schneider. Well, who else has a question? I know that you have questions because we've all got parents, we've all got
Kids.
children, maybe we've all got neighbors, co-workers. Many of us have businesses that we would like to improve.
I have a quick question. I got on late, obviously, and I was wondering if you could just go through it very quickly.
Sure. Resonance repatterning is a way to optimize people's frequencies to change their lives. And it's basically when you have trauma in your life, and it doesn't have to be, somebody tried to kill you or anything like that. I mean, there's all kind of trauma. But when you have trauma in your life, basically what happens is it creates a pathway in your brain, and that pathway it's kind of seared into your brain. And then when you have more trauma as your life goes along, every time you have it and it's remotely similar to that initial trauma, it's going to trigger it. and you're going to have an explosion instead of being able to in an empowered way deal with what you need to in the present. You're being hindered by what happened to you in the past. And what we do is we go in and we remove and replace those pathways in the brain. And then the other pathway, the original pathway, is gone, and the new one is filled with love and white light and healing and positive things and positive emotions. And we do that. Any questions about it?
Well, I've got a thought. Is this too simplistic? But when we learn the piano, we learn how to do something by doing it. This pathway, we do it over and over and over. We're in school and we learn math facts. We learn the multiplication table, and we do it over and over and over for the purpose of learning to, so we're purposely creating this pathway. But you're saying when something negative happens, a pathway is also created. And in this case,
and then we go into behaviors that we use over and over and over. Like we date the same people all the time. No matter how much we don't want to, we keep pulling in the same people, or there anything that you can think of, we start, that's not helpful in our lives. We can't stop drinking. We don't sleep. There's just all kinds of things that we do over and over. And as we're doing that, we're reinforcing the pathway in the brain. Yeah. So,
wow.
I mean, I've had people come in. This still blows me away. I can't quite figure this one out, but I've had people come in and they're alcoholics. Pretty big alcoholics for like 25 years, right? They come in for their next session a week later. They're in AA. I'm like, what? Yeah. Other people take longer, and other people, of course, I mean, they're never going to stop drinking, and God love them. That's just their path in this lifetime, But yeah, it's just amazing.
And you do things on Zoom. People don't have to come to you, correct?
Yeah, I don't do Zoom though. I do phone sessions in my office. I'll do FaceTime. I keep thinking, I should get Zoom in my office, and then I think, oh no, it's going to go away, and everybody's going to be able to come back. But I've been doing phone sessions for 25 years. And I have clients in Africa, so yeah, it just works. Yeah, I try to tell people, don't just try it. Sometimes it's for them, and sometimes it's not. But try it. You can't go wrong with it. Every session is a session unto itself. So it's not like you have to do another one or anything. One's not dependent upon the other.
So what would be some examples?
Of people who have gotten repatterned?
That, or the things that are said?
The things that are said? Oh.
Things you do.
You mean things that I repattern?
Yes.
Oh, you name it.
And how?
Huh?
And how is it by just suggestion?
Well, I was telling them, I don't know, maybe you hadn't gotten here yet, but generally what I do is, people, a lot of the time, people refer people to me. And so I ask why that particular physician or practitioner referred them to me, and the people will tell me, and then I ask them to talk to me about what's going on in their world. And as I'm doing that, I'm muscle checking through all these pages of repatternings, And it's invariably the muscle checking will stop on a particular repatterning. Sometimes it looks like they're totally unrelated, but at the end, it totally makes sense why it came up. And we, work on things like anxiety and depression and, difficult relationships. I worked on a woman one time, and she can't remember quite how it went, but she hadn't seen her daughter in years. And her daughter lived out west. She was here in Austin, and she came in, she had a repatterning. It's called an entrainment resonance repatterning. And it's just basically designed to entrain you to what you need to be entrained to, whether it's a job or a dog or yourself or your daughter. The next day she got on a plane and she went to out west, and she went to see her daughter, and 6 months later her daughter and her husband moved back here. They were pregnant. And
Wow.
yeah.
June, you've got your hand up.
Let's see.
Hi.
Okay, and I'm unmuted. There are two people at the beginning. You mentioned you had an encounter with someone in your office. So
Correct.
the two people that are having challenges don't have to agree.
They don't need to be there. They don't have to agree. They don't, because where you're working from is beyond where you agree with somebody. It's in your heart and how you and where your love is. And that's
So how do these two people that are grown and have had 30 years of hostility between them and emotional hurt, if only one is getting treated, how does that healing take place?
well, it doesn't matter. All we ever need to be responsible for is ourselves. And so I had a person come in one time that had been married for 30 years and had been mad at their spouse for 25. And really, they had no relationship. And after they were in my office for about 5 years, they were happily married for the rest of their lives. It's not about the other person ever. It's only about us and how we see them and how we look at the issue. And as long as you're working on yourself, doesn't matter. Sooner or later, we get to the point where we see that, we had our own responsibility in what was going on, and we can let that go, and we can just love the people for who they are and let them be. And if they if they're cranky and they you just kind of love them for who they are and for who you used to know them to be. But it works.
So if it was sexual abuse and each one thinks the other one was at fault, how do you go about that?
Well, if it's sexual abuse, all you have to do is work on yourself with it. And you get yourself to a place where what happened between the two of you, although it was totally unacceptable, unbelievably inappropriate for another human being to act that way, you will get to the point where you're just okay with it. It doesn't bother you anymore. As long as the point is to have you be healthy and whole and happy. And the other person can do what they want with their lives. And it doesn't matter if you know what the situation was, right? If you know what the situation was, then you know. And you're the person who needs to know. And what anybody else thinks or tries to make you think doesn't matter. And you get to a point when you've worked on this stuff where that's what happens. You just are a place.
Because after 30 years, you need to say enough's enough, life goes on. then you've got
Exactly.
to go forward.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hattie Jane, did you have something?
Yes, I have a curiosity. Hello, thank you so much.
Hi.
This is so fascinating. Thank you, Elaine.
Thank you for having me.
Great. When you spoke of doing kinesiology and you spoke of using the tuning forks and you spoke of using the points and the meridians of the acupuncture system, okay, I could follow all that interactive. But then you went to the phone as opposing to be able to see the person, and you went to remote kinesiology, and I'm lost.
Well, I don't usually say that, but I started to tell you about something and I had.
Well, that's one way of doing it, but the other
Yes.
aspect where it's strictly the voice over a wire, uh, and you need to go through a pattern that you're aware of from your experience and training so that you can elicit from the other individual a response because you can't see them. That takes a lot of memory of what you're supposed to ask, doesn't it?
No. That's where the repatternings themselves come in. Okay, so we have actual how do you say that? They're
Kind of
like
protocol,
hmm?
kind of a list or a protocol.
We have books filled with repatternings. Okay, so I have a ton of books. I don't know how many. But we'll have a sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
We'll have a book that is a book of chakra repatternings. And then we have a book that's a book of Chinese 5-element acupuncture repatternings. And then we have a book of just basic primary patterns like seeing and hearing and just writing and just fundamental stuff like that. And then we have a book on the energetics of relationship. And so when we're going through the lists, muscle checking through the lists as to what repatterning is appropriate, we then go to the book that has that repatterning in it. And those repatternings consist mostly of statements. Okay, like if it's a kidney meridian repatterning, it has statements that are basically issues you have when your kidney meridian is out of balance and when it's balanced. Okay, and that's where I get the statements. There isn't anything that's left to chance at all in this system, except, having to believe that being on the other end of the phone, right? Yeah.
How did Chloe Wadsworth come up with this?
She's a major healer beyond pretty much anybody I've ever known. She grew up in England on a very alternative farm with her parents. They had a school, and she was raised in a very different way than I was. And then she basically got a degree in acupuncture, and this is how I explain it. It's a very simplistic explanation, but she came in one day and one of her clients had a particular set of symptoms. And so she went to her modality book and her acupuncture book or whatever she was working, and she said she got this particular pattern of modalities to help this person with these symptoms, and they healed it. So she wrote that down in her little book. Oh my God, this heals this, right? And so a couple weeks later, another person came in and they had the same symptoms. So she said, oh, good, I know what to do with this, right? So she ran to her little book. She came back, she did those modalities on it, and it didn't work. And so from that, she deduced that for every symptom or problem or disorder that a human being has, there's a structure underneath that that is endemic to them. Okay. So basically, she decided that she was going to find the system to get that structure. And that's what we're doing in there. We're finding the structure underneath that issue. Because say you've got two women who have breast cancer. They have the same diagnosis. They have the same symptomology. But when you go underneath and you find the structure of both of those women's disease, it's very different.
Okay.
Yeah. It's brilliant.
It's wonderful. Oh, so much in this world for us to learn and know and grow. And
I know that's one of the things I love about doing this for a living is it's limitless.
yeah.
You know, I can never stop learning. Everything somebody comes up with, I'm like, oh, great, let's put that in.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then there's all the machines, like your friend that came in, you know, the Rife machine and all kinds of really interesting ways of dealing with someone's vibrational field.
This was my idea of the morning. After a call that I was on at, for me, 6:30 this morning, I thought what I would like is I would like medicine to become more integrative in North America. And so that alternative things were used, discussed, that they were part of the mesh of what creates our wellness, and that becomes acceptable. But as part of that, I thought, then we as people, we need to start calling our doctors different things. Because as long as we put that doctor in front of someone's name, that implies, you know everything, you will fix me.
Right. Right.
And, you know, and there are different degrees.
When it should be a partnership.
Right.
You know?
But, you know, for me as a voice teacher, I teach classical voice. I do not know the belt method. I can make it up and I can help people, you know, tomorrow, you know, that Annie kind of sound. There is a specific way to teach it, and I don't know what that is. So if you want a belt, don't come to me. And, you know, if you want to learn how to sing beautifully, do come to me. And I would love doctors to be able to have more of these, you know, we'll call them alternative methods, so they could say, well, actually, I'm really, really good at surgery, or I'm really, really good at, you know, this particular thing. But you're coming in with fibromyalgia or
chronic fatigue.
Yeah, or I'm heaven forbid, as a doctor, I'm muscle testing you, and I actually think there's something emotional that's going on that is part of this, you know, this makeup of you that you call health. And I really think that you would be better served by going to Mary.
Well, that's how I get most of my business, you know, is that there are really forward thinking functional medicine people and chiropractors, you know, I work with one chiropractor. We've been working, she specializes in endocrinology, but she doesn't really do cracking backs or anything like that. But she basically just, she'll say to her client, she'll say, look, I know there's something going on here. She said, but I have done everything physiologically I can do. And this is still here. So it's emotional. Go see Mary.
Yay.
Yes. And I mean, Elaine, you should have seen it when I was, excuse me, when I first started this in 96. People were just looking at me like I had 3 heads. And it's changed a lot. It's changed a lot. They do offer, you know, in big teaching hospitals in New York and stuff, they do offer things like acupuncture, and some insurance companies are picking that up now. It's very, it's very slow,
Yeah. Well,
but it is happening, because, and you know why? A, everybody needs it, but B, all these people's kids, all these, you know, forward-thinking parents took their kids to these people, and now they're medical students, and they're going, hey, you know, I want to know about that.
that's
So,
true. That's
yeah.
the age they are. Wonderful.
Mhm. Yeah, so it's changing.
You've given us a lot to think about. I don't see any more questions, so I'll let you go today.
Thank you so much.
I will post this, and it'll get posted later today, and then we can listen to it again and send it to other people.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank everybody for coming too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you
Yeah.
all. Talk to you later. Go out and find someone to smile at, because that will raise your energy and it will raise theirs too.
Mhm.
Bye.
Vibrational field.
Yeah.